It's about Graham time. You hop on another episode. I'm your host, Christian Graham.
And Stephanie Graham.
How we doing today, baby?
We're doing good.
Yeah?
We're doing really good. I got some good sleep. Noah slept well. She woke up later in the morning, so.
Yeah.
Oh, that's it.
She only woke up twice through the night.
I just threw a bottle in her face and called it. Went to sleep, woke up at 7. Oh, shoot. We're kind of late.
Yeah. We're trying a new process out, though, because she's now back in
The room.
our bed.
Our bed. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But we have a king-size bed, so she's kind of like at the tail end of the bed, you know. And then
she's where my feet's supposed to be.
Yeah, we're up here, you know. And so we're trying out something a little different, you know, because usually she's sleeping side by side with the girls, but then she's up like 4 or 5 times through the night.
Yeah, like we're waking up every single hour.
And then we're having to like go across the hall to their room to be able to take care of her. So trying out something a little different.
And she's been sleeping better. And it's easier for us because we don't have to like get up and go. It's just like, oh, Binky, you know.
Yeah, Binky.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She usually wakes up because she has like either a soiled diaper or she needs to fart. You know, and you got to like pump those legs. It's like
she's a gassy girl.
She is a gassy girl.
Dude, she be tooting all through the night. I'm just like, and they're not even like, you know, like silent, you know, small little. She's like really working for it. It's like, yeah. But anywho.
Yeah. Other than that, yeah, I've been good. You have been recovering from this past week of being sick again. I don't know what it was. You caught like some sort of flu or something?
Just really bad cold, I guess. You know, because I never fevered and stuff, but still a little fatigued, but not like, you know.
You also took magnesium last night.
I did take magnesium last night, so that's making me like, chilling a little bit, you know.
Your eyes are pretty much closed right now.
Are they? Yeah, I can barely keep my eyes awake right now. No, but I'm good. I'm good. Yeah, I'm finally back after like a week.
Yeah, that's why there was no episode last week.
Yeah, because I've been down since last Monday. But yeah, here we are.
Yeah.
Back at it. What's going on? So
I asked Christian earlier this morning while we were getting ready if I could be the one to... Actually, I didn't even ask. I told. Yeah. I said, I'm going to be the one asking some questions today because his birthday is next Tuesday and you're turning 29.
I am.
So on the 29th, he'll be turning 29.
29 on the 29th.
That's your golden year, right?
Something like that. I don't know.
I don't know, but everyone knows that as golden year. I didn't know that until a couple, like last year or something.
Yeah.
So I guess I just wanted to pick your brain, get some insight, share some testimony, do something. So as we look back on your journey as, I guess your last year of being a 20, like in your 20s before you hit the big 30. Okay.
Yeah. Well, I'm turning 29.
You're turning 29.
So I still got all of next year to be able to share on and reflect back on the rest of the 20s. But
we say that, right? But the years go by really fast because we pack it with so many things.
It's true.
I mean, we might be pregnant again and then just, oh my gosh, it's another year. Oh yeah. This is not even real wood.
The faux wood.
Fake wood.
The faux wood.
So I'm going to go ahead and start off with, what advice would you give to your younger self knowing what you know now?
What advice would I give to my younger self from what I know now? Really, really, really dive deep into your faith. Yeah. That's how many reallys it is. Yeah. Really, really, really dive deep into your faith. And not doing it for anyone else or anything else, but for yourself, because you want to have that relationship, you know, because you want to really know more, you know? Yeah. That's my number one advice.
So if a man came up to you randomly, like, and you're 17 years old or something, I don't know what you were doing at 17, or maybe I do. I don't remember. But a random man came up to you and said, what was it?
Really, really, really dive deep into your faith.
Really, really dive deep
Dive.
Dive deep into your faith. Dive deep into your faith. Would you have listened?
Yeah.
Yeah?
I think so. I mean, I got saved at 14. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. I mean, I was going through like pretty extensive like Bible boot camp and stuff like back, since 14. So,
but didn't you hit a time after that where you kind of walked away?
I think that's a community factor, so like being comfortable, like, and this is where you say like really, really dive deep into your faith, because I was great for a period. And then once I started surrounding myself back and wanting to be a part of like the community of unbelievers, or, just my friends, that were just having fun, being young and doing their thing, then I eventually fell out of my faith, and started backsliding. And so it's more of surrounding yourself with people that are of the same faith and really, like I said, really, really diving deep into your faith and like caring for it for yourself, because at some point it kind of felt as though, I mean, I'm 14, right? Like wanting to just be in like a socially accepted, so kind of being in a social club in a sense, it's like, and then I'm over here killing it like in my Bible studies and getting a lot of that validation, from like youth pastors and stuff, right? So it's like, okay, I'm doing it for these things, right? And that's where a lot of that church hurt, I really feel, stems from as well, is that they're putting their faith and their trust in these youth pastors or into these pastors, senior pastors, right? And getting validation from a young age from these people. And then once they slip up, right, and then maybe they get corrected or, gets rebuked in front of the church, now they're ashamed. Now they're, feeling like they're not socially accepted in this space, even here at church, right? And so being really, really intentional with your faith, but then also being okay with correction, really, 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 really accepting correction.
That's a really big point. And because even for me, like being corrected, even as an adult, I didn't even know how to handle that. Yeah. I didn't accept being corrected. But nowadays we're so coddled for everything that it's even harder, that once you try to correct, it's like, well, why are you coming at me this way? And
canceled.
Yeah, canceled. Then you're canceled, right? And so correction and discipline is all love. If it's coming,
if it's done out of love.
If it's done out of love, right?
It's going way beyond that. It's really knowing God.
Yeah.
It's really knowing Jesus, like, and having that personal relationship, like I said, like really, really diving deep into your own faith and having that relationship, because without that, you then start to put your trust into these people, and think that because of the relationship equity, between a 14-year-old and the youth pastor that's been shepherding him, all these years, that, okay, I'm able to come in for correction at this point. But if that person was never truly prepared in that way to accept that correction in that way, because their heart really doesn't understand the accountability that comes with being a true believer, right? And that correction and rebuking, of certain things, then it's you're going to you're going to struggle with with accepting it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you have to have God at the center. Like it has to be that real deep, intentional relationship with God.
So you would probably tell the younger self would be your 14-year-old self, because that would have saved you from what?
Myself. I can only blame myself for the things that I've done. And so, just all of it, the lying, cheating, stealing, I just was straight, backsliding bad, and just knowing that it's bad is another thing, like there's people that will go their entire life, doing all of these things that are bad for them, or they're just straight up bad. And then because they don't have that relationship with God, they don't even understand what's really good. Right. And so and then they just will blame the system. They'll blame society. They'll blame their parents. They'll blame this and that. But yeah, for me, I have to take accountability for my own.
Right.
So, yeah.
Nice. I think that's a really big one. Stuff that I'm still learning. But I've only gotten better at taking accountability because I've been in God. Been really drawing near and making him the center of everything. Whereas before, I was really relying on my own understanding of what I thought the word was, what I thought God wanted and stuff. And so when it came to instruction, I wasn't really hearing. I listened to make sure that I was in the right. So that was that's where my heart was. And when I didn't like something, I rebuked it and stuff. And it was it actually got really confusing in my head. But when I really just put God at the center, I'm like, you know what? I'm not in control of anything, You
really start to understand his sovereignty in that sense, the way that you're putting it. But then also that it's not always about what you feel or even what you think,
Right.
It's about his ways are greater than our ways. His thoughts are greater than our thoughts. And so how do we then start to accept that, because that's the moment that we start to accept that his ways are greater than our ways and his thoughts are greater than our thoughts is the moment that we start to accept his sovereignty and we start to accept accountability for our own issues.
I'm going to move on to the next question.
Go ahead.
All right. What has been the most significant challenge you faced in your 20s and how did you overcome it?
The most significant challenge in my 20s was not even a year ago, 8 months ago. February 10th, 2024 was when I had to finally acknowledge that my gambling wasn't an investment, wasn't a quick investment, but that it was an addiction, and it had it was just a stronghold on my life. And so being able to navigate that through faith, knowing that God was going to continue to meet every single need, that was just the greatest challenge that I had, because financially I've always been in a great position my whole life, or the moment that I started quote unquote taking matters into my own hands, as far as being a great steward of my investments, and budgeting and saving money, but the moment that I started to steer away from those disciplines and those biblical principles and values was the moment that I, got caught slipping. You know what I mean? And it almost like derailed our marriage, almost derailed our finances, almost derailed our businesses, and it just, it could have gone a completely different way, but God is so good, so faithful. He's just him, right? And so he was able to carry us out from that circumstance. And now giving me fresh perspective of my love and adoration for him and wanting to give him praise and glory for it, because I can't do it alone. Like I'm, even as great as I quote unquote was, with handling things quote unquote on my own, once you step outside of that framework, you start to understand that God's hand was on it the entire time.
Yeah.
That he's utilizing you, he's using that imperfect person for the benefit of his glory every single time. And all that good that gets done, it's because he's making purpose of that work. Whether you realize it or not, whether you even give him credit or glory for it or not.
Right.
Because nothing good is of us. And so, yeah, that's what was the most challenging, but that's how I was able to make it through. What else you got for me?
What matters most to you now that didn't seem as important before?
Spending quality time, set aside time for my wife and for my children. I feel like you kind of get to this place where you can get comfortable and you come into a place of expectation that, because they're your spouse, that they're there for you, and they're going to continue to, stand by you and do because that's, because they're your spouse, or, your kids, like they have unconditional love for you because they're your dad, you're their dad, or you're their mom. But, that's just having an ungrateful, mindset and heart set, right? Because they could be in so much pain and you don't even realize it. They could be so hurt and you won't even realize it because you didn't give them the time of day, And so just making sure that I'm able to continuously like check in, how are you doing? How are you emotionally? How can I serve you better? How can I outserve you? Having date nights, having this time of like, it's about Graham time, to just spend that quality time with one another and just making sure that you're good, we're good, and not taking your time or your resources or your love for me for granted.
I'm reminded of the analogy I told you of two Mac Minis in a room full of windows.
Yeah. What's the Mac Minis? Tell them the story about the Mac Minis.
Okay.
Tell them the story.
I have to close my eyes so I can remember it. So I was driving the other day, and while I'm driving, I reflect a lot so I can really acknowledge where I'm missing the mark, right? And I was thinking of how my growth with you, and I was thinking like, I take advantage of Christian a lot. And I take advantage, and I take you for granted in the ways that, one, I don't acknowledge or appreciate a lot of things that you do for me, even the little things, right? But there's this component where I stopped seeing you as Christian, and I started seeing you as just my extension, an extension of myself, right? And so where this is the way I put it. This goes into how you said like prioritizing your marriage and stuff, right? When I say I saw you as an extension of myself, I took you for granted in the way that, oh, he's always going to be there. We're married, we're one. And I got this idea of, I don't need to do all of that anymore because we know what's up, right? And so in this analogy, I said, I'm like a Mac Mini because I have a Mac Mini. So I have a Mac Mini and I'm like this computer and I function. I do all these different things. My RAM is at 32 gigabytes. I function really well. But at a certain point, what is it? 256 gigabytes of memory.
Yeah.
Right. That I have storage that I have on my Mac Mini. There's a certain point where I just fill it with so many different things. All my work that goes into it. And
then you need an external hard drive.
And then at some point I need an external hard drive. And so what do? I offload what's on my computer and I put it into the external hard drive. And I'm like, all right, you take this. Okay. And I clean up my whole desktop. I clean up all my storage and now everything's there. And the way that I saw it is in that similar fashion. I'm like, all right, I don't have the capacity to do laundry today. Christian, you do laundry, right? I don't have the capacity to make dinner right now. You know what, Christian, can you go pick up some food, right? So I'm like offloading all of these, not just like my memory, right? Not these files. I'm to me and to him, I'm offloading some responsibility, right? And so I'm doing that, not realizing that Christian isn't just my external hard drive. He's another functioning computer that I'm just offloading. Just
I'm a whole ass Mac studio myself.
I told this to Christian. I told this to Christian on our date on Friday, this past Friday, and he looked at me. He's like, I love everything, but you got two things wrong. I'm not a Mac Mini. I'm a Mac Studio. And then I don't remember the other thing.
That I'm not an external hard drive.
Oh yeah, you're not external hard drive.
Or no, that I'm not you said that I was like a 2 terabyte external hard drive. And I was like, okay, I'm not even a 2 terabyte external hard drive. I'm like a 10 terabyte external hard drive and a Mac Studio together. And you over here trying to play me for a 256 gigabyte. Like what?
So yeah, I told him that on our date, and I didn't say this well now, but anyways, I said that that at the end of me telling him before he even said that, I said, all to find out we're just 2 Mac Minis or we're 2 Apples in a room full of windows. And that was when I was in the car though. And I thought of that and I said it out loud. I was like, oh my God. It was like, I was so hyped.
Super high five.
I was so hyped. I didn't know if I was going to share that ever, but I thought that was hilarious.
No, it's really good. And it's just the perfect analogy, honestly, for the way that we go about relationships, either in work or even, in your marriage, or in your relationship, because you do get to a point when you start, like you said, offloading, cleaning up like what's on your plate, and you start handing it off to your spouse or your coworker, or your delegate, right? And then like at some point it's like, man, like you're putting on so much memory. Like I'm full now, like when am I gonna get cleaned up? Yeah, what I mean?
and it was noticeable. There's a lot of periods where I noticed it, but I didn't really understand because I was too busy thinking of me. I was thinking, oh, I'm doing this, and this, and this. Like, what is he doing? Oh, yeah, he's doing that. But I minimized it because you did it so well, right? Like, I never felt your stress when you're doing certain, like all these different these tasks, I guess, or having this responsibility. I've never felt your pain. I emotionally didn't feel it. I physically didn't feel the pains that you go through. And so I didn't think that you struggled with it, right?
Mm-hmm.
I didn't think that it was overbearing. So I'm like, okay, well, what is he doing? And only to know, or only to find out, when I'd ask you, oh, did he handle this already? Did he handle this? You're like, I already did it.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So I'm thinking in my head, I'm like, oh, he doesn't struggle with this stuff because he's just so good at it. Right.
Let me just put a
Let me just
more.
add more and add more. So I added more so I wouldn't feel inconvenienced by life's responsibilities and the lifestyle that we have chosen, and that we live out. But yeah, that's what I would do. And I don't remember where I was going with that. Do you see? And then at this point, I'd be, Christian, do you remember? And I would rely on your own memory to help me out.
Mm-hmm.
You would be like my supplement
Mm-hmm.
to everything. And the other day I was thinking, I'm like, wow, that's a lot, because there's a point for you when, like you said, it gets pretty heavy and all this memory and storage is being taken up, that you're now functioning a lot slower.
Mm-hmm.
You're moving slower. You're like, I don't really want to do that. I'm kind of tired. I'm like, well, why are you tired? I'm doing great, But I had to mature in that and see you for how great you are. So I love you and thank you.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Any other questions you got?
What are you excited for in this upcoming year? And that's my last question.
What am I most excited for in this upcoming year? Oh, man. There's so much to be excited for. I want to redirect this question back to you, because there's so many moving parts. But I'll start with, I'm excited for the opportunity to serve in the different areas that I can't share yet because we haven't made a decision on anything, with the different accounts of people, our church and whatnot, that, there's a lot of just doors and opportunities that are opening. And so, like, I'm really excited to see if and when God wants us to walk through those doors, if it's something that he wants us to walk through those doors, and what it looks like. I'm always just excited for opportunity.
Yeah. Yeah, you are.
Yeah. And the opportunity to just do more, because dad is tired, dad is exhausted, dad is stressed, but dad never gives up, right? You guys see that meme all the time on Instagram?
I don't.
No, on Facebook. But yeah, that's just like, that's my life, is like, yeah, I'm tired, but like, job's not done, and every moment that we go through in life, like, just period, whether you're man or woman, is that job's not done, that you have to keep persevering, and that perseverance produces character, and that character produces hope, and so you have to continue to fight the good fight. And so that's what I'm excited for this upcoming year, is what good fights are we taking with God? What good seeds are we sowing for God's kingdom and his righteousness? And if fruit is going to be coming from it, please, Lord, let some fruit, just kind of fall down from the tree of financials, like this year instead of in the next 20 years, But anywho, yeah, that's what I'm excited for. And I want to redirect the question back to you in the way of, with all the moving parts that we have, what do you do to process through everything that we have going on? And how do you feel about everything that's going on right now?
To process all that, all the stuff within the business and all the moving parts that we're doing, I really have to sit and think about where am I at with God? I really have to sit and think, like, if a new opportunity arises, and there has been so many, does this align with God? And where is my heart in it? In the sense of, I received an opportunity, and it's still in the works. I won't say it until it's actually finalized. But I had to really make sure that I'm mature for it, because otherwise, I could potentially steer people the wrong way, right? And I have to make sure that I'm mature and I'm right for it in this time, because I know I have the heart to help. I know I have the heart to support and the heart to do. But am I ready in this time? So I have to really sit with God and go through that. And there's a lot of praying, there's a lot of talking, there's a lot of waiting, there's a lot of listening and being still and being very sensitive to the Spirit. As many things that we have going on, that there's a lot of opportunities coming our way. As much as I want to do all of it at once, there's a praying and waiting, because we could have a heart for it, but again, it's in God's timing, and it just might not be right now, and you could really only know by seeking out the Lord.
So, what does prioritization look like to you as a Christian then?
Hear it, sit on it, and I present it. So, once finding out like all the different details, I do look at like where I am at in my position within my family and business and stuff, and then I take it to God, and I'm like, God, this is something I want to do, but I won't move on anything unless I have a clear answer that this is the direction. And does it align with what you already asked us to do? Does it help it? Does it distract it? And if it steers away my attention from the purpose that he already set, or the purpose and the assignment he already set before us as a family, because I can't move alone. So the decision I make is the decision we make as a family. So it's me and Christian, we have to do that yes. And that yes will also affect our children and those around us. And so, how does this affect everybody within our unit, I guess? And does it align with what we're already doing? Because I don't want to take 40 years for that, to get this done, which he already had us do, because I decided to detour and wander off.
Do you think that when you receive these opportunities as a business owner and, you're getting ready to present it to the Lord, is it something that God is already putting on your plate because you prayed for it? Is it because you're already equipped for it and God is saying move on it? How do you know how to discern God's voice in when to move on this thing versus that thing when you're presented 10 different opportunities at your hand?
Again, I really check my heart. Is this glorifying me? Is this glorifying somebody else? What? Like, I have to really check my emotions, because I'm a very emotional person. And I'm like, is this satisfying? Do I want to take this? Like, what are my intentions? Do I want to take this because it validates my faith, right? It validates me and shows everybody else, like, what am I actually doing this for? So I have to really, and that's why it takes a good chunk before I actually make a decision towards anything, is because I have to ask myself, and I have to be real with God, like, why am I even trying to pursue this. And so once I deny and I present like, all right, this is the reason. I have to break down all those emotions and those feelings and those thoughts and break down all my flesh. Like once I do that, then I could come at it. I'm like, all right, God, like now here it is. I don't necessarily like, there are things that I want of this and I know this aligns with you. I'm aligning with you, but I know that if I do this, it's really for your glory, not for me. Like I already put death to that. So once I do that and I present it to the Lord, I'm like, all right, God, like here's what we have. Here's every opportunity. What do you want to do? I don't know when it'll hit and what, but then again, there's like this peace and just straight up confidence that we can do it all, you know?
That we can move in this specific direction because the Bible says that the Lord is a lamp on our feet, right? And so he, and also that the Lord orders your steps in the one that delights in him, right? And so it's knowing that when like all these things, it's not even because we want it, you know, it's not even because we desire it, you know, God is like, just here it is, you know, and where are you going to say yes? So then I can meet you where we need to go, you know, because to me, at least, like this is how I get to start moving on things so quickly, you know, and it's because I just say yes to God. You know, I'm like, okay, yeah, I want to be used, you know, God use me. I'm available to you. And so whichever one is like, you know, low hanging fruit where it needs to be done, all right, then God is with us, you know, we're going to move in that direction. If it's something that I can kind of plan for, you know, then that's when it's like, okay, I'm in this waiting season, and in this waiting season is when I'm taking time to intertwine myself. In those moments where it's just like do, I feel that it's because God's already equipped us for that moment. You know what I mean? Like now it's just say yes and be available. And so it may not even be things that you want to be doing necessarily, but then like you said, are you doing it because it's going to glorify you? Are you doing it because it's going to glorify another person? Or are you doing it because it's strictly glorifying God? And in those moments when it's strictly glorifying God, God has already blessed and ordained that situation to happen. And so you don't need to do it and then wait for God to bless it. You know what I mean? But that's just my 2 cents. But with that being said, it's about Graham time we get on out of here. I'm your host, Christian Graham.
And Stephanie Graham.
And we'll see y'all on the next one.
Bye.
Peace.